Welcome one, welcome all to our newly branded Life Liberty and Liquidity. I am Mike, joined by Taylor and Jeff, and we also have where'd he go? We also have Crypto Jeff. If if he's able to pop up,
I can see him on the bottom here, but not on the screen.
he might have to like leave and come back or something. Might have a little glitchy poo.
Oh yeah, he froze.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, basically what we're going to talk about tonight is just to put it plainly, defining success. So just kind of what success means to each of us, and kind of what we've traits and characteristics that we've tried to embody to meet those goals, failures that we've had, that we've hopefully learned from, successes that we've had, and just kind of our individual journeys towards whatever that brass ring is that that we call success. So we'll kick it right off. Taylor, you want to take bring us in?
On success?
Yeah, just
All right.
let's just start with like what do you define as success?
So actually, I'll take you. So my meditation kind of realization that I had the other day that kind of came to me when I was meditating. I taught it to my kids this morning, so I'm going to try to give it justice and teach it here. And that is the currency of life is energy. It's not money. Energy is the thing that you should pursue. If you can learn how to have now, energy is like, of course, we define energy as the capacity to do work. That is what traditionally energy is thought of and kind of put out there to be. But what I kind of had a breakthrough in my meditation was understanding the levels of kind of as humans that we go through with energy. Because even though energy is kind of all the same, we all know that a nuclear reactor and a campfire are very different in the capacities of what they can do. And the same thing applies to us as humans. We are converters of energy. And if you do not learn how to convert energy properly, you're going to spend. If all of my success really has come down to not how much money I have, but my capacity to convert the energy that I do have into productive means. And so, first off, I want to
You might have to break that down into non mushroom tripping terminology.
okay, let's start off with phase one of
All
what
right.
I would call thing. So the first kind of phase is survival, basic, how most people live their life, which is they allow their outward environment to determine kind of how they pursue something.
Okay.
They take, we all have roughly around the same amount of energy within a day, the capacity to do work. Now, I say that, of course, there are people that are born freaks of nature and have constant energy and just can go all day long from the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. There are
That's
people
what she
that
said.
naturally have that ability. Most of us have to work at it, actually apply ourselves and do different things. But it isn't necessarily how much energy that you have, it's how you convert that energy. If you are wasting away your life or wasting away your energy on non-productive things constantly, you aren't going anywhere. So, first phase that we kind of go through in all of our lives or in most situation is this basic survival. We just do whatever comes our way. We behave in any fashion of anything that we let the outward world kind of affect us. As you kind of move through your life, you start to figure out that you can structure yourself and structure the energy output that you have. We refer to those as habits. You can You have calendars, you set up boundaries for yourself. All the concepts that we generally look at. If you read like self-help books, it's all about this concept. How do you structure yourself to properly use the energy that you have every given day?
Well,
The,
I mean, you can boil it down to one word, really. A lot of that is discipline.
yeah, discipline. Yes, great. As you learn to discipline yourself, you will slowly be able to convert the energy into the proper kind of channel and where you will be able to. But something happens when you will know that you're on that right path.
It's
And
the
I've
chi.
experienced
It's the chi of business.
exactly.
Got
You
to
know
rope
that
in
you're
the
on the
chi.
right path because, as I've experienced in my life, as you become more structured and organized in how you work, you become more creative. You will start to see the fruits of your labor kind of manifest themselves into new ideas. And it's really sad because I found most people never get to this phase. They're always looking at life as how much money do I have? What external thing can I find to benefit me at any given moment, except for focusing on oneself, trying to work on oneself, and kind of focus in and move your life forward. So as you
That,
do
that,
this, you will
that's
find
actually,
out.
well, that's actually one thing that I've noticed about a lot of people is they focus externally on for everything, for success, for relationships, whatever, and they don't work on foundational principles, which are internal. Discipline, focus, just all of those things that you need to embody, um,
Well,
to lay that foundation.
yeah, and you'll know this is true. As you discipline yourself, do you find more energy or less energy?
More because everything you do is more efficient, and it's well, in the military what we call economy of movement. So, if you're just erratic and you're emotional and you're all over the place and you're just running around like a chicken with your head cut off, you're, wasting resources, be it money, be it energy, be it time, whatever. But if you're disciplined and you're focused and you have a plan like you're talking about, to where you have a calendar and it's like, all right, this date at this time, I'm doing this. This is my roadmap. This is my milestones. This is how I'm measuring if I'm making progress towards my end goal. You have quantifiable, results from your efforts. Those are the things that are going to keep you focused and on the path. Otherwise, yeah, you're just all over the place and spinning your wheels.
Exactly. Like so, in science, they call it waste. What happens is energy is not created nor is it destroyed. It is transferred. That's what happens. And if you are constantly living a life where you just do whatever you want, whenever you want to do it, you have so much waste that is happening of your energy. And it's hard to ever get into a rhythm, to get into what they call the flow. And so as you discipline yourself and you move forward, you run into this phase of creativity where all of a sudden now your energy is so efficient and it's so effective that you start coming up with new ideas. You'll be able to see things. You become aware of things that you never could see before because you're not wasting a lot of your things. You can do this in your personal life with relationships. As you develop yourself and your ability to have good relationships, you become creative and interactive in your relationships. When a relationship's all about what you're going to get out of a relationship, and you're very poor at it,
Mm.
then there's no spark, there's no creativity, there's no thing. And then the last is the hardest level to get to, and very few people get to it. And that is when you get your whole life aligned into proper use of that energy in your life, and you're like a laser beam. You just, everything flows. And I was trying to explain this to my kids this morning that when I was young, I used to always look forward to the weekend. I was always, oh, when the weekend comes, I'm going to have so much fun, you know. And my whole days were just filled with misery. Going to school, then I had to go to work, and then like I had to do this and do that, and I was always miserable until I could hang out with the bros. That was like my whole thing. And I was like, and and then I went on a mission, and I was working all the time as a missionary. I mean, it was miserable work. I woke up every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. There were mosquitoes everywhere. I bathed with a bucket. I had no toilet paper.
Nope.
I wiped my hand. I wiped my butt with my left hand. I, I walked every day around in a white suit and tie, and uh, pretty much was disliked by pretty much everybody that saw me, or at least I terrified everybody that saw me. But I absolutely loved my life when I was doing it. Now, not all missionaries love being a missionary. That's the one thing I want people to understand is like, I always wondered that. Why did I enjoy it so much? And I came down in my book that I wrote, it was something that was told to me is that when you give your whole heart, might, mind, and strength to something, you come to love it. And when you enter that flow state, that complete alignment, your life becomes so enjoyable. And it's not what you are doing that will make you happy. It is you become happiness because you are focused. And that is the currency of life. When you learn how to convert your energy and focus it, you will find absolute success. Will it be material? Maybe, maybe not. But you will love your life. And that is the best way. The currency that you want is to be able to convert and use energy efficiently as you can. If you do that, I promise you, you will have a successful, wonderful life. If you're going to just do whatever you want to do, whenever you want to do it, and misuse your energy, life's going to be tough. It's going to be
You're going
difficult.
to be a rudderless boat.
Exactly. And so success of your life is your ability to learn how to focus and convert that energy that you have like a laser beam and get to that flow state.
Honestly, for me, it's if looking at at my life, I mean, I'm immensely happy, and I consider myself very successful. But to some people, I mean, I'm not a multimillionaire. I'm not driving Ferraris or anything like that. But I'm rich in time. I can pretty much do whatever I want whenever I want. Um, and my life consists of creativity, working on the property and improving things, learning new things. One thing that I've noticed from mentors that I've had in the past, and people I look up to, is they're always learning. They're constantly learning, and from places that most people would shy away from. They'll go up to somebody that somebody that's multimillionaire, and they'll go up to somebody who's a dishwasher or a waiter, and be asking them questions about their job and how they do their job, and things like that. If
Yeah. But I need to talk a little bit more about, because you kind of lied almost a little bit there, because you say you have a lot of time. And yeah, you do have time, but you are constantly filling your time with doing things. Like when
Absolutely.
I went up and visited Michael, like
But
in
I choose what I fill that time with. I'm not. It's not dictated because I'm on a salary, or it's it's different. When you
because
have the freedom to choose what you fill that time with. It
yeah, because
there's
you don't
there's
have
a
to be told what to do. You go out and you use your energy every day to try to make things better. Like
oh,
you don't sit
absolutely.
around and just eat, watching TV all day and eating junk food. Like you're out there
Hey,
constantly. Like
I'm
when I
right
went,
here. Rude.
Jeff's like, hey, you measure success how you measure it. I'll measure it how I measure it.
I measure it by whether or not there's double stuffed Oreos in the house. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. But like when I was up there, one of the things that you did, we drove 20 miles, and you knew almost everybody. Like, oh, that's so and so who lives there, and this is what's going on in his life. And I help I've helped him out with a few things, and almost everybody up there you knew. And so you're constantly engaged in trying to help other people and better the environment that you're in, even though you
Oh,
don't
no.
have to.
No, absolutely. I mean, that's that's key to. I mean, it's a little bit self-serving too, because one, I'm making the community better. I'm learning from all these people around me. I mean, there's some people that are great at gardening. I suck at it, and by helping them, I learn things from them as well. There's some people that are cattle ranchers. There's some people that are hunters. There's my one neighbor, him and his wife own that Thai restaurant, and if it wasn't for him, my cabin wouldn't be what it is. So it's you're right. It really is, not just about your personal success, but building up success around you to where, I think it kind of goes back to that energy you're talking about, to where the energy around you, not just you, but the energy around you, fosters, success, prosperity, knowledge, just all of those things that, create the environment
You,
for, everyone around you to be successful.
well, you have an ability, which I'll tell you, this is one of the best ways to learn how to convert your energy. Stop being self focused, be
Yeah.
other focused. When you are other focused, like Michael is, there are so many things that Michael can do and accomplish because he knows everybody around him, and he knows, oh, I don't know how to do this. I can call so and so, but everybody will drop everything and come over and help you because that's what you do for them.
Hmm.
Like they know that, oh, your neighbors know if they call you, you'll be over there to help them in an instant,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
you're more than willing to do it. But most people don't live like that. Most people live a life very much self-serving and always asking, what are people doing for me? Woe is me. And they use all their energy to pout and moan and not move their life forward. And so you're a great example of how to properly, use that currency that you have. I'm using this metaphor going forward, so people will hopefully get the concept of stop worrying about how much money you have, worry about how much energy that you have and what you're applying it to.
Another aspect is, not I forget where I got it from. It's not something I came up with. But the gist of it is if you're living in the past, you're living with regret. If you're living for the future, you're living with anxiety. Live in the moment and make the most of the moment.
Jeffrey, your turn.
Yep, you're up, Jeff.
I just spent the last 20 minutes just trying to figure out how to comment on the stupid comics section because it's hilarious the difference between what people are saying. You guys are having this like deep philosophical conversation, and Sack Nasty's not.
Dude, if you get sucked into Sack Nasty's freaking comments, you'll be
I'm
there
like,
forever.
if for some reason I can read the comments, but there's not a interface for me. I don't know what I got to like link into YouTube or some crap. I don't know.
I'll work on it. It's pretty much I think it's just a permissions thing. So I need to see if I can give you permissions to do it.
That'd be good. But let's see. So I don't disagree with anything you guys have been saying, but I think on a more pragmatic level, um, coming at this from a different angle, I think one of the worst thing that's happened in the last 20 years. This is ironic since we're literally doing a social media thing right now. But I think we have an entire generation or two that's let social media define what success is. And it tends to be very materialistic, and it tends to be very fame oriented or
Yep.
notoriety. I can't say that word.
Mater- you hit the
Notoriety,
nail on the head. Very materialistic.
right? And I think, a lot of people, when they look back at like high school, right? I mean, you got your friends, your group, and kind of for most of us, whatever dramas we had in high school faded away a long time ago and just a blurry section of life. But I feel like one thing that a lot of people, when they got out of high school or were looking forward to when you got out of high school, especially whether you're going to go to college or go in the military, whatever you're going to do, or start a career, was this idea of it being a bit of a kind of a bigger version of New Year's Day, right? I get to turn a page in my life. I get to have this new chapter. I get to go become something or do something or be something outside of maybe the framework or the little the stereotypes you kind of were placed in or found yourself in within high school. And I think social media has turned the whole world into sort of a post high school slash high school vibe. And what I mean by that is in high school, there was like the jocks, right? And there was the super popular kids, and there was like the artistic kids, and whatever. And so now it's like, oh, you got Taylor Swift, that's the artistic kid, or the popular kid. You got Kelsey or Mahomes or whomever as your or Messi as your jocks, and you've the world has just sort of shrunk down to where people are like, well, if I don't fit in one of these sort of categories where my name is known and where I've got just this, you know, sort of like rap god lifestyle, a lot of people are finding significant disenchantment, and it's frustrating, right? Because I remember reading once that like the vast, I mean, there's obviously some, Jay Z obviously is worth a ton of money, Eminem and 50 Cent and some others, but the vast majority of people you see like a video for, right? Those cars were rented. That mansion was rented. Like
Oh yeah,
it's
like
all
MTV Cribs. That was like the downfall of MTV Cribs is when it came out that pretty much everybody on that show
which is
that
bullshit.
most of the cars they were showing off or the jewelry and stuff like that was all rented and
And so I guess what I'm getting at, the sad part of that is people are comparing against a fake life, right? I mean, I'm not saying that it wouldn't be cool to be able to fly private and go, wherever you wanted to go, but um, I do think I've seen firsthand in my career that I do not go so far as to say that money's not important because if you can't get your car fixed and you can't get to work, you can't get to work and you get laid off, and now you can't get your car fixed because you got no money coming in. I mean, like obviously you can get sort of in a downward spiral financially and things, and you got to be careful about that. But on the flip side, and I certainly know that Taylor's seen this as well. We have clients we deal with that seem to be very, very content in life at various levels of wealth. And then we have clients that are very discontent in life at various levels of wealth.
mm,
So while it may be cliche to say money
money
does
it
not
doesn't
buy
equal
happiness,
happiness.
it
Yeah.
really doesn't. Now, what it does buy is convenience and leverage, right? So, like, if um, if you have resources and you know there's an emergency. I mean, I'm not, I have to absolutely work every month to make money. I'm not in a position to just like, throw money away. But at the same time, if, one of my best friends call me or my parents call me and say, you got to get down, you got to get to the East Coast or the West Coast or wherever you got to go because somebody's not going to make it. I'm not thinking about what that flight's going to cost. I'm just going to go pay it and I'll deal with that later. Right. But you
Yeah.
still have to have a certain amount of flexibility to even do that. So I think something that is really sad is when people fall for the trap that it's going to buy them happiness, and then they finally achieve that status, whatever that is, and they look around and they're like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about my bills are on auto pay, but I'm not fulfilled, right? I have no sense of purpose or peace
Mm.
or um, worth beyond this arbitrary thing that is measured in zeros and ones in a bank account somewhere. So I do think that's a significant um, a significant challenge, especially because and I'll wrap up here, especially because um, we don't have nearly the same opportunity by default for significance that our great grandparents did. So I'm 48. So my great grandparents were born in the late 1800s, right? And they lived to the early to mid 1900s. Um, but they were all born in small towns, right? Where there was like my grandfather's father on my mother's side had a paint and hardware store. And
Yeah.
it was the paint and hardware store in DeLand, Texas, DeLand, Florida, which is this tiny little town, Stetson University's there. It's a little college town, much smaller than like a Waco or a College Station or some other place, right? It's just a little college town, and it was paint and glass. So they had hardware. They did glass windows and installations, and they did paint. And like literally for like 40 years, that store and like literally like the soda fountain burger joint across it was where people like congregated just to talk during the day and working on this project. I need to fix my house up. I need to do this. I need to do that. So my point is, my great grandfather had a sense of significance in his small town because he knew what his identity was in there. I'm the guy that helps people fix their homes, helps people fix their businesses, and they came to him.
That's what fulfilled him.
Right. It fulfilled, but what I'm getting at now is now there's Home Depot in every corner. Right. There's so many more people, and we're so jammed in that unless you are at that 0.00001% of whatever you do, nobody knows your name and what you do. And I
Mhm.
think it's very easy for people to retreat into themselves, go home, like Taylor was talking about, turn on Netflix, and just zone out. And their life just passes them by because they don't have a sense of belonging and purpose. And I think that lack of community um, is really, really problematic. And I'm not sure if it's reversible on the way
I'm
we're going,
I'm
Trevor.
actually
Well,
glad you bring that up. That's a great segue into something that I've noticed and that I learned from a mentor when in my early 20s, who was very successful, but much older, and kind of gave me a little bit of a little nugget of wisdom because he said in his life. Hold on, sorry, let me keep trying to mute this. He told me that 'cause he spent his whole life trying to amass wealth, and by the time he realized that pretty much his whole life had passed him by, he was very wealthy, but and had a very fulfilling life, but realized that he was at an age to where he couldn't fully appreciate the what that money could do. And so, kind of the wisdom that he told me was figure out the life that you want and then figure out how much you need to earn to accomplish that instead of just arbitrarily, running around just trying to earn until you're, 60, 70, 80 years old. You retire and then you realize, okay, now I'm too old to, go and learn how to surf or to, go and, do charity work in another country or, just whatever it is that, that is your brass ring, and that's kind of the wisdom that he gave me was figure out what you want so that you can, almost reverse plan and figure out, all right, for that kind of lifestyle, this is what I need to earn so that I can launch. Because as soon as you reach that, that's when you launch. You don't just, work to an age that you're told to by a government, at 65 or 70 or whatever they decide the retirement age is. And then you try to launch and actually enjoy the fruits of your labors. So that's what I tried to do, and I think kind of why I stuck in the military for so long and retired out of the military is I figured, at 40, it gave me the freedom to where for the rest of my life, I had a paycheck. It's not a lot, but it covers all my necessities. I don't have to worry about a roof over my head, food on the table, whatever. I can go out, I can learn about crypto, I can help neighbors, I can volunteer, doing wildland firefighting, whatever I want to do, I can do it. And to me, that's success. Yeah, I'm not driving a Ferrari or anything like that. And honestly, if I had millions of dollars, I wouldn't be driving a Ferrari. I'd probably be living the exact same life as I am now. Um, but yeah, that's kind of the wisdom that was bestowed upon me. I've always tried to seek out mentors, and I mean, the two of you, in different ways, or I try to find attributes in everybody around me that I wish to embody. Um, Taylor, is probably one of the best examples of a father and a husband that I've ever run across. Just his the way that he dedicates his life not just to building his business, but the way that he, always makes time for his kids and his wife. He always puts them first, as he should. It's, Jeff, it's, you're very dedicated to, the gay community, and making sure that you're at every, even if you have to travel, you go to every parade, every bathhouse.
I thought you were going to tell me I inspired you to order more than one appetizer just for myself, but you went a different direction. I see that.
uh,
You
well,
know,
so you guys are teaching like probably, well, you're teaching the most important concept in all religious teachings, which is this idea of detachment from the material world. I mean, you go to Christ's statement of taking no thought for this life, what you shall eat, what you shall drink, what you should put on. And I mean, you take that to its fulfillment of detaching from the material world. You go to Buddha. I mean, that's what Buddha was trying to tell everybody. Forget the material things of this world, and you will find happiness. That, like, at some point, if you go to Stoic teachings, I mean, in Stoic teachings, they do the same thing. They teach the same concept. Stop focusing. What should you be focusing on? And people often take those teachings and go, oh, that means I'm supposed to go sit in a cave and meditate all day
No.
long. No, that's not what they were trying to say. What they were saying is forget about your physical wants and desires and focus on other people. Get out of yourself, focus, and make the purpose of your life about helping others. And this magical thing happens, which is that energy that you all put on yourself all the time in the worry and the anxiety, it vanishes. And you develop these powerful relationships with other people that are so meaningful and rewarding. Or not just people, it can be nature, it can be a cause, it can be other things. But when you sit there and worry about yourself and constantly are focused, how much money is my bank account? Do I have enough to? Well, that the world will just keep throwing curveballs at you left and right if that's going to be your focus.
Well,
If you
and
have,
especially if you focus on making yourself a victim all the time. That's
yeah,
one thing that I see constantly, especially on social media, where it's, people are almost glamorized, or like, are they're, told they're a hero, for being a victim. And in that self, not self-loathing, but just that mentality is so destructive. I mean, because I have never met a single successful person that sees themselves as a victim.
yeah, if you think about the most successful people really in the context of like happiness and like, oh, I would love, like, they really just impact you when they meet you. It is almost never the billionaires you meet. And it isn't their money. I mean, there are a lot of billionaires that are incredible people because what they accomplish and what they can do in this world, but they aren't obsessed with their physical wealth. They just became wealthy because they became somebody that was incredibly creative, transformative to this world. And of course, wealth follows sometimes with that. But
Hmm.
like, still, some of the most impactful people in my life have been like school teachers,
Mhm.
scout masters.
Dad's a perfect example of that. I
Yeah,
mean, if you look at him, you would never, you'd never be like, oh yeah, he's, incredibly wealthy, or anything like that. I mean, he's a
yeah.
very
He
simple.
sells books for $1 at
Yeah,
a fair, not because it makes money. He loses money doing it. He does it solely so he can interact with people.
yeah. No, but it's, he's a retired school teacher, did it his whole life. I mean, we were basically, almost on the borderline of homeless, the whole time we were growing up.
Yeah,
But
we were
he
homeless
is,
for 6 months.
yeah, but he is
We
one
got
of the,
foreclosed on, and we had to go live in a trailer.
Yeah, but he's but he is one of the most humble, most giving, it just yeah, I mean, he embodies like everything that I try to be as a man. I mean, as far as like an example of what a man should be, like all the stoic qualities, unemotional, isn't driven, like he's not erratic and all over the place with his emotions. He's very stoic. He's very charitable. He's always he's never looking for accolades or for himself to be celebrated. It's everything is always about the people around him.
Yeah, let me tell you a
And it's
story. One of my
oh good.
most impactful stories about our father, and that was he was a special ed teacher,
Hmm.
and I showed up in high school one day, and it was early morning, and they willed in this. I mean, he was uh, physically completely. The term we used to use was mentally retarded, but he physically could not move, couldn't do anything, and they rolled him into the classroom, and you could clearly tell he had a dirty diaper, like stunk really bad, and it probably something that had been sitting for a long time. And one of the teacher aides said, "Not again." Like almost like this happens every day.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad, he gets up and he just takes the kid and goes to the bathroom to change him
Yeah.
and brings him back in. And I was a little upset about it. I was like, and so I mentioned it to my father and said, you know, you know, that's wrong for someone just to bring their kid to school like this every day for you to change their diaper.
Yeah.
And he goes, Taylor, she's a single mother. Her kid is very large. It's very hard for her to change the diaper. This is one way I can serve and help.
Wow.
And I
Well,
and I thought that he didn't ask the teacher aides to do it. He
no.
did it himself. He could have put it on everybody else. This is your responsibility. He did it himself. He never complained about it. For I think the kid for 6 years went to that school. And I thought about that, and it was like pure. I mean, our father did not make hardly anything.
Oh no. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
40,000 a year was probably his max that he got to, and so, but he loved what he did. He was happy every day. Like you'd go to school and see him. He loved it.
Yeah.
And most people would go, that's a horrific job. I would never want to do that.
Well, in the way that I mean, you can probably tell the story better, but well, like, I mean, share with everybody why he got into special ed.
So, our aunt, she's passed, but Aunt Janie had Downs, and so what ended up, he grew up with a sister who had Downs, and
Severe Downs.
yeah, severe. She was very, but in high school, um, when Janie was taken to, I don't know if it's high school or just regular school, they were forced to by the government to provide special education. The state of Texas was. So what they did is they went and got these trailers, and they put all the special ed kids in this trailer outside the school because they didn't want the other students to see them because it might scare them. That was the logic behind it. And they didn't even put air conditioning in these trailers in Houston. And my grandparents showed up, went to the superintendent, and said, "We are going to go to the Houston Chronicle unless you put these children in classes with and around other kids their age. They are human beings. They should be treated this way." And it forced the Pasadena Independent School District to recognize and treat special ed kids as if they were just regular students. And that spread throughout the whole country, or not the whole country, the whole state. and became a policy in all the ISDs at that point. And that inspired my father to become our father to become a special ed teacher. And so it was the example that he saw from his parents demanding, and that what my dad experienced was when Janie was in the school districts, he saw the good that could come from that.
Yeah. So and something that I mean, and he's always been about giving back because even after he retired, well, I mean before he retired, but after he retired, he used to volunteer at the prison. He'd go to the prisons to oh there you go. Okay. Um he'd go to the prisons and volunteered to basically teach inmates so they could pass their GED. Um, I mean, it's just he was always
It's
finding
pronounced
ways.
Gid.
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 The GED,
Pronounced the Gid.
past the GED.
That's the Gid.
So, yeah, I mean, basically, I mean, the point I'm trying to make here is you need to figure out what success is for you, not what society says it is. Not what social media, like Jeff was talking about, says it is. You need to figure out what success looks like for you. Because if you do not have a goal, if you don't have an end game, you are a rudderless boat. You're going to be erratic, you're going to be all over the place, you're going to be chasing whatever's shiny at the moment. So if you want to be successful, sit down and envision your life and
Well,
where you would like to end up and what you would like to accomplish in your life.
but
You know, put in Oh, go
that
ahead.
is very, very difficult to do. We kind of say you need to figure that out.
Anything worth doing is difficult.
Yeah, but
Usually.
it is the most important thing that you do in your life. Like, this is kind of a weird thing because as an estate planning attorney, this is kind of my whole thing. I try to get out of people when I'm
Mhm.
trying to talk to them is,
What are you trying to
what's
accomplish?
the end goal here? Like, where are you going with, why are you saving all that money? Like, what's the purpose here? And I will tell you, over 99% of the people who walk in my door, they've never thought about it. They never have really put it down. And it's because it's a very, very difficult question to ask yourself, because really nobody lays out a roadmap for you in your life and goes, oh, this is what you should be doing with your life. This is the purpose. And I would highly recommend you spend some good time researching it, thinking it through, and realize that if you will apply yourself, that answer will come to you and you will get to know. But if you were to ask most people, they just feel like they're going through life and
On
there's,
autopilot.
yeah, there's some destination they're going to. They just don't know why or where. And and that's one of life's hardest things is nobody gives you that end destination. You have to figure that out for yourself. But
Well, I
it
mean,
is,
it's different for everybody. One person it might be a mansion and a Ferrari, and for another person, it might be just having enough money to have food on the table, a roof over their head, and do charity work the rest of their life. I mean, both in estate planning, and Jeff in investing, and in being a financial advisor, you have a very unique perspective on people's lives, because that's all you deal with is people come in and, like you said, they're when they're trying to figure out their estate, it's like, okay, this is what I have, this is what I'm trying to accomplish, this is how I want it managed or handled. When they talk to Jeff, it's like, okay, these are my investments, this is what I make, what steps can I take, and probably you and Jeff both ask the same thing, what is your end goal? And
you
unless you have I can't stress it enough. Unless you have a destination, unless you have an end game or a goal, you are going to feel lost.
you
No matter how much money you make, no matter how successful you are, you're going to feel lost because you're not working towards anything.
you
You're
want to
aimlessly wandering.
You want to hear my revelation? What it was?
Yes.
So, okay, this is a good one because this is a dream I had. So I used to be obsessed with this question. I used to ask it all the time. I used to pray about it all the time. I tried to figure it out, and this dream totally shattered my world. It actually it started my downfall in my religion. It totally shook me to the core, and it was, I wanted to know what the best life I could possibly live. What should be my greatest aim in my life be? And I woke up, or I should say, woke up. I had this dream where I was in this cave, and there's gold coins that were like streaming out of the cave. And then so I'm picking up these gold coins, walking out, and there's fog. Can't see anywhere, and it's really dark. And as I was picking up these gold coins, and it was leading me kind of astray, I realized there's this dragon flying overhead and dropping these gold coins. And I kept walking and picking up the gold coins, and eventually the fog cleared, and there was this city, and it was a
Full of
city of
big booty Latinas.
a big booty Latinas. No. And it was this city of just castles. I could see, as far as you could see, there was castles everywhere. And the dragon landed right before me, and it ate me and swallowed me whole. And I was inside the belly of this dragon for what felt like a long time. And I was feeling around. Eventually, I felt and I grabbed this sword, and I cut myself outside of the belly of the dragon. And I came out, and I was standing in front of this great wall that divided me and this city of castles. And the door opened, and our father came down, and
Our father, like the biblical father,
no,
or our
no, our dad, Steve, Steve, our heavenly
Yahweh,
father.
Yahweh.
So he comes down, and then and he takes me into this city of castle, and I'm given this castle and this kingdom, and it was, good job, way to go, you made it.
Yeah,
And I'm so happy and joyful, and I'm given like 84,000 gold coins a day to spend as I want, and I'm, for eons of time, I'm just living in this castle, enjoying everything that I want, until one day it occurs to me that I'm still trapped in the belly of this dragon. That the castle and everything is a delusion, and it's numbed me into this belief that I've gotten everything I want. And then I realize I'm going to spend the rest of the eons of my existence in this kingdom, this castle, for what purpose? I've gotten everything driven in my life to get all the wealth that I've ever wanted. But this is all it is. This is what I get to do for the rest of eternity, is just sit in this
yeah,
castle and
yeah.
rule over the kingdom. And I start to panic. I can even remember the feeling of going, oh my gosh, this is hell. I am trapped in hell. I have everything that I want. Everything is being given to me, but I am literally in hell. And I run from this castle.
It's a gilded cage.
Yeah, and I run from this castle, and I run as far as hard as I can, until I finally come to this city, and it's a city full of these beautiful mansions. And I realize that the city is all the workers that worked for all the castles and the kingdoms. And I walk into
and,
the
and, and
city.
they're all barbecuing ribs, and
Yes. And they give me this.
they got big booty Latinas stripping.
There's no big booty Latinas, Michael.
Come on, man! I'm trying to inject my fantasy.
So I go into the city, and they give me this mask, and they say, well, in here you got to wear this mask, and you got to wear this robe. And I start to embrace this life of, kind of service. I'm kind of serving, but really what I'm doing is living in a mansion here too. But I go and serve too up at the castles that everybody else has,
Yeah.
because that's a nice thing to do. Somebody has to do the dirty work, Someone
Yeah.
has to do some of the dirty work, but I still have a mansion there, and I'm still doing, and for eons of time, I'm doing this until one day I can't remember. Oh, it's a mirror. I realize in the center of the city, there's this mirror. And I walk up to this mirror and I realize I'm wearing a mask that I don't even recognize myself, but I realize that the clothing that they have given me is see-through. I'm naked. And I'm so ashamed and embarrassed by this. I'm like, I take off the mask and I flee again, and I run into this desert. And I'm stuck in this desert, basically withering and dying, and I'm just miserable because I've come to this point that I've gone to the city of castles and the city of mansions, and now I have nothing, and I'm like, this is eternity. This is what we do for eternity. What's the purpose of existence, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And then this man shows up and he goes, your father has been waiting for you. And I'm like, yeah, biblical father. No, that's not that. And he goes, he wants to speak with you. And I'm
Zach Nasty says someone's been to Vegas.
and
Keep going. Sorry.
and so this man takes me, and we walk up to the top of this mountain, and we get to a point, and the man turns and he says, you got to walk the rest of the way by yourself. And I walk to the top of this mountain, and I get to the very top, and there's nothing there. And I go, once again, I've been fooled. And I'm sitting there, but I'm too exhausted. There's no way I can turn back. And I'm like, I'm going to die at the top of this mountain. And I lay down to die. And right when before I'm going to die, a hand reaches down from the clouds and it pulls me up. And it pulls me up into this almost paradise place. And I'm basically in this village. There's all these rice fields everywhere. And I see off in the distance this old man working. And there's another man with him. And I start to walk up to him. And this man walks up to me, and it's the same man that took me from the desert to the mountain. And he says to me, behold your father and our father, the King of Kings, your God and my God.
And it was
and
Jeff.
I look, and it's Jeff.
You're like, no, this is hell.
I'm all sucked in. Tell me, so what happened?
Yeah,
So
I'm sorry.
I look over, and he's bent over, working in the rice field, and he hobbles up to me. And I fall down, and I'm weeping, and I'm just like, you're the God of everything. You're the King of Kings. Why are you here? What are you doing? Why aren't you sitting on your throne? I don't understand. My whole life I had been taught God sits on the throne and he rules over his kingdom. And I'm like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
And he explains this concept. He goes, I give 84,000 seconds every day to every person, and they choose how they want to spend their time. Some take all of that and live in castles and mansions. I give everything that I have to everybody else, and I leave nothing for myself. And at that moment, I finally realized what it meant to be like God, to be like Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And I wept like uncontrollably. I was like kneeling in the mud. I was just weeping because I knew I was nothing like them. And then I turned and walked away. And from that moment, I have basically had to deconstruct myself to the realization that if you're going to believe in the God of the universe, he is nothing like what we really are. But you would have to also accept the fact that he understands how to live a perfect existence. And according to my dream, he lives an existence where he gives everything every ounce of his self to others. Now, I'm not telling you guys that this is a true vision I saw of heaven or everything. I'm not trying to teach you a religion. I'm just saying it was my answer to my question. And so I realized at that moment I was unwilling to do that. I liked my money.
Yeah.
I like, I'm still selfish. I'm still self-centered.
Yeah.
And I realized that there's a big gap between me and what I need to become.
Mm. Well,
So
I mean,
that was the answer.
Heavy.
well, that's a very good point though, is, being able to be self-aware. Part of success is being self-aware and, realizing, what it is. And this again is part of that brass ring, or, goals or milestones of, how how you evolve, not just from a monetary standpoint, but a spiritual standpoint. Becoming a better father, becoming a better husband, a better wife, a better mother, a better brother, sister, whatever. It's, that's the point of life, and that's part of success, is the journey of constantly improving, all aspects of your life. So, that's why it really is, a key part of it is to be, intensely self-aware, not to the point to where you tear yourself down, but to where you're aware of and can, recognize the things that you need to work on to become a better person. Because, that's really, I mean, if you're a religious person or not, that's kind of why we're here, is to, is to go and to, to become better.
Yeah. Right, Jeff?
I mean, I hope so. All I know
Just
is
like,
I'm gonna walk into Taylor's office tomorrow and be like, "Hey, you got $100 to give me?" And he's gonna be like, "Why did I give you $100?" I'm like, "I'm trying to keep you from being so selfish." No,
yeah, I'm trying to help me help
you.
you become less selfish.
This is
Right.
the guy I buy
I'm
lunch for
being
every day.
like the Jeremy. Help me, help you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so Jeff conveniently forgets his wallet every day for lunch. Like he has become my testing ground of sacrifice and service to another.
And charity.
He's always
Meanwhile,
like,
He's
"Oh
he's
man,
your
I forgot my wallet."
I spend my days trying to make Taylor a better human. So
yeah,
some call
you
me a
know what?
hero.
It's a burden that Jeff bears,
That's
Yeah.
right.
daily.
It is.
Out of the kindness of his heart.
That's right.
And the
So,
rumbling in my belly.
well, let's go ahead and go around the horn. I mean, we're about an hour. I know you guys probably got to get going, so we'll go around the horn. And, Taylor, closing thoughts.
Um, well, I think Jeff is, and you are right. You've hit the nail on the head, which is you have to work on yourself to get rid of your attachment to physical things. Like you have to realize that your value and everything is what you buy. Now, you may get wealthy. You may get that doesn't mean you're a bad person at all. Wealth does not. Some of the best people, my best clients, the most charitable, the most good, decent people are extremely wealthy individuals. So just because you have wealth doesn't mean you're a bad person. But
There's a lot you can
don't
do with it.
measure your life based upon how much you have in your bank account. Measure your life on what you're doing for other people. Like, how are you helping other people in whatever weird way you can do that? If it's just all you are is a good friend to talk to, well, then be that person. And maybe you have some other qualities. Maybe you can fix people's cars, and that's how you help people.
Mhm. Jeff.
Well, since it got real deep and quasi-religious, I will say that something I think is, how people tend to, they'll say these things and be like, it's in the Bible. Now, obviously, whether or not someone believes in the Bible, that's their business.
It's
But it
pronounced
is
Bible.
frustrating when they say things like, God helps those who help themselves, not in the Bible, right? Or money is the root of all evil. Also, not in the Bible. It says the love of money is a root of evil. And I think that's really piggybacks on what Taylor was just saying, which is wealth inherently is not evil. It's not wrong. But if you ascribe to wealth purpose and meaning that wealth doesn't have, right? It's just a it's just a mechanical means of exchange. Um, it doesn't in and of itself make you any better or worse than anybody else, right? And it
It
doesn't
it
confer that
it
meaning
it
somebody else
usually
are seeking.
magnifies. It usually
Right.
magnifies
I
who
do.
the
Yeah. Kind of like alcohol, right? It usually magnifies who the person
yeah.
is. And I think, you know, I tell my clients in almost every first meeting at the end, I share my philosophy with them. And I tell them and it's multi parts, but the part I'll share here is I believe money is the most important, non important thing. So
I've heard it a
compared,
thousand times.
right? So compared to your,
The most important,
if you're a
non-important
person of faith, if you're a person who's married, if you're a person who has children, or you have best, like compared to the things that, how about this? If the phone rings at 2 a.m. or there's a knock on your door, you're not thinking about your bank account, right? You're thinking, oh my God, like immediately it's your heart stopping about, are the people you love the most okay? And so I view my job in part to help people steward well what they have and what they're going to have and the blessings they have, what they've worked for, so that they have the freedom to focus on what really matters, right? Friends, family, children, service, faith, those things. And so I do think that while everybody does it differently, the clients I have that while they are not haphazard with their finances, it's an appropriate perspective to everything else. They're by far the most content people I know. Whether they got 50 grand or 5 million, right? So I think that's something to aspire to, is to constantly um, keep yourself in check. And, it doesn't hurt to remember that we're all about, everybody on this chat at least is about 50 years away at best from not being here, right? So time's a hell of a lot more important than money. And I think you can certainly measure your success by how much flexibility and how much control you have over that. So you can choose to spend the currency of your life, the energy of your life on the things that matter most to you and those you love. And it's hard.
It is. All right. Well, I'll leave it like this. Um, I personally see time as the ultimate currency. It's no matter how rich you are. I've seen a lot of people die. I'll be blunt. I've seen plenty of people die, and not one of them in their last breaths where I wish I would have worked more, or I wish I would have made more money. Every single one of them was, tell my wife I love them, tell my kids I love them. I wish I had more time. Time is finite. None of us know how much of it we have. It doesn't matter how much money you make. The rich, they die just like the poor. And everywhere that I've ever been in the world, I'll be honest, the happiest people that I have ever met live in dirt fucking huts in the
Yep.
middle of fucking nowhere and have nothing. I mean, just the biggest smiles, the most charitable, the most giving, and some of the most miserable people that I've met. And it's not a universal truth, but some of the most, miserable people that I've ever met have some of, the most money. So don't measure your success against other people. Figure out what happiness and success is for you and figure out your roadmap to get there. Set goals, set milestones to make sure that you're making progress, the overall roadmap, and then milestones are like stair steps to get there. And that's how you gauge if you're making, progress. Figure out what you want in life, work towards it, and enjoy the journey, because that's the most important thing is, again, we only have so much time. So, make sure that you're spending that currency of time efficiently and effectively. So, with that, we'll end it. Thank you, gentlemen. As always, appreciate you taking the time to come here and share nuggets of wisdom and gayness. And we'll uh, we'll see everyone next time.
See you, man. Take care.
Until then,
All right.
later.
Talk
Oh,
to you later.
actually, real quick, this week we're going to be migrating our other channel, DeFi Crypto and Airdrops, to a new channel on YouTube. It's We're partnering up with a network, and we're going to be announcing that this week. So a lot of exciting things coming. We're going to be launching a DeFi Academy where it will allow people to learn about DeFi at their own speed. It'll be very simple, short lessons, and we should be able to start having some pretty exciting guests on that will be able to be subject matter experts on a wide range of things. So it's it's gonna be an exciting ride, and I'm excited for it. So make sure that you keep an eye out, like, share, follow, and until next time, we'll see you.
See you.